Dear friends, as you all know, that this country is facing an unprecedented crisis in terms of human resource management. It is not a problem that we today have inherited or that we are now facing it. This problem has its own inheritance. It is a carry forward of a liability and a burden which is devoid of any historical responsibility or precaution or foresight about how and why we should organize ourselves as the people of this country. The problem, as I have been telling to you today, that we face is not a problem indeed of the day of our days. It is definitely not a problem of our times. It is not to be even labeled as a result of our failure to indulge to tackle it. Rather, it is a historically carried forward liability to us. And then, if that is the case, that this problem of human management in this country is not merely an accidental issue that is being faced by us in our own times, then, and if it has the roots in historical circumstances of this country, and particularly the religiously historical or the historically religious circumstances of this country, then it becomes imperative to us to tackle it religiously and in a very religious way, and to unmake it by adopting the mechanism, measures and such other steps to get rid of this religiously made mess. Man is to be ameliorated, cultivated into a greater being. That is the aim of all the religions of this country or the religions of this world. And in the name of a religion, if in this country a certain system of labor or the management of the human resources is allowed to be causing more damage than a facility to this country, to these people of this country, then such a religious system or such systems of crude exploitation of humankind which clothe themselves and recommend themselves so tantalizingly as belonging to this or that religious faith, particularly the faith that which is fundamentally opposed to any reason and logic, then it is our duty to say what is the truth and what is untruth. Therefore, my dear friends, you shall take upon yourself this responsibility of breaking down that mistake, that mythical, that problematic issue of human freedom, that which it denies the people their ordinary appetite to be what they are and the inclinations to be trained. Such a system has to be opposed tooth and nail, and you should dissect it and know its reality. And once you know and you diagnose its reality and you find that it contains and it contains repugnable contents and components which do not consist or which do not go with the established principles of human liberty, equality and fraternity, then you shall not have any hesitation to remove the repugnant elements which are not consistent to the principles of human non-ways of living, associated ways of life. Even in the case of thieves, there is an element of justice. There is an element of parity. And to that extent, they have a clarity as to how they can be associating themselves even to go for an unlawful or immoral act of committing a theft. If that is the case, if that is the extreme case where association based on certain principles of parity is called for, then my dear friends, it doesn't need any stretch of imagination nor the knowledge of all the libraries of this world for us to know that to establish a system of equity, to establish a system of permanent governance, to establish a kind of committee of communities that come together and to form a society, the importance of parity as a principle of uncompromising justice as the foundational architectural template of our society. Therefore, to adopt the principle of parity and to create the opportunities to ensure the objective manifestation of that parity, which in other terms called justice, has to be the uncompromised founding stone of any alliance or formation of society. Have you any sense of, if you have any sense of understanding the origins and rise and fall of various communities and empires, you will not have any hesitation to agree with me in this regard. The rise and fall of communities or the sustenance and continuance of communities will depend upon how far that community is flexible, sensitive, and sensible to address, acknowledge the problems that such a system of arrangement throws up. The desperate elements, the deprived elements, the disparaging elements, the exploiting elements all constitute the society. Then it is the duty of the intelligent and conscientious elements of that society to suppress the elements that try to exploit the remaining parts of the society, the remaining members of the communities of the society. And then, as the old Latin maxim of law says, that suppressio falsi and suggestio veri. You have to suppress the suppress the mischief and advance the benefit of the public. And such system of suppressing the wrongs and promoting the benefit of the public is the only way to continue the system of the society. Otherwise, it will break. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, please be conscientious to the facts of our social life. Be conscientious to the privileges that we enjoy in the name of individuality, merit, and such other, rationalizing labels. And never be so dismissive as to the claims made by the people who do not have the means to communicate and assert their rights and to express their opinions as to how they have to be treated and how this country has to be run. Hence, once we understand and acknowledge that we all together constitute society, then parity shall be the only means, the founding stone of our relationship. And from parity flows all the forms of rights that are known to humanity so far.